Dobro jutro svima. Good morning, everybody, and I would like to thank you to join us in a meeting room here, and I would like to thank also who was with us online in our meeting. So today we will have a stakeholder engagement to improve knowledge via citizen science, facilitated bottom-up management, and increase acceptance and compliance. So I will be with my colleague Melissa Rodech. So the first thing that I will introduce myself. I am Mokhtar Saeed. I'm working at the National Council of Civil Liberties and Human Rights in Libya as a director of Environment and Sustainable Development Department. I was working at the Ministry of Environment since 2006 until 2021. Just I'm changing totally last year my position. So, but it is still linked with the environment and the human rights in the same time. So I will give the floor also to my colleague Melissa to introduce herself, and we will continue our program for today.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending this session, online and in person. I'm Milica Rudic. I work in the Ministry of Ecology, Spatial Planning and Urbanism of Montenegro. I'm a maritime spatial planner, and I work within the department which is in charge for integrated management of coastal and marine ecosystems. Firstly, I would like to share with you some basic rules to ensure this session runs smoothly for online attendance and for you that are present here. So please, for online users, please mute your microphones when you're not speaking, or you will be muted by our technicians just to avoid background noise. Also, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and for Zoom, who follows us on Zoom, please raise hand in the reaction menu. If you have any questions, you can also type it in the Zoom chat box. And please, before you speak, please provide us with your name, your organization, and the country where you come from. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. As you know, the citizen science really it is an important issues that we have faced in those years, and to engage the local communities to work with us to have an effective management in our MBAs. So I think all of us, we are still thinking about the citizen science and how we can dealing with the citizen science in general. So today we will have 4 presentations, 2 from Lebanon, and 1 from Albania, and it will be online, another from Italy. I hope that you can discuss with them and share ideas and share your opinion about the citizen science and how we can dealing with the citizen science, because as you know, the key person for our MBAs to reach the management effectiveness in our MBAs, they are the local community. They are the key. How we can dealing with them, how we can collect the information from them, and how we are thinking about their rights. Sometimes we are just thinking about target groups on those MBAs, like we focusing on fishermen or fisheries. I'm sorry for that, because for the equity they are now using fisheries. So we are thinking about fisheries sometimes. We don't think about other target groups who are with us in this MBA. Maybe they will affect this MBA. So really, the other issue with the citizen science and all things, this we should think about human rights also, how we can give them their rights. So we will start with those presentation. We will have for everyone, we have just 15 minutes, and then we will have 10 minutes for discussions and maybe questions. So really, I need your support to discuss about this new thing. This is the citizen science and also the local human communities and their rights, and how we can dealing with that and to reach that management effectiveness. Melissa, maybe you can start with the first one to yeah.
Thank you. So the first presentation will be given by Ali El Haddad from the Society for the Protection of Nature in Lebanon. The topic is developing citizen science protocols for biodiversity monitoring while enhancing community-based management and implementation bodies for an effective management of Hima Anfeh. So just for a small introduction, Hima Anfeh is a coastal village in the North Lebanon. It's known for their very active community. They work mostly, they're producing salt, they're doing fishing and olive harvesting. And Ali will share with us that his institution recently is developing a citizen science program for biodiversity monitoring. So they're trying to include these local communities in this monitoring program and how they engage them. So he will explain us and how these communities are involved in all the conservation process.
Maybe before we start, I feel that all of us are sleepy. So try to stand up or do something to be active, please. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so first, I'm Ali Haddad from SPNL. I'm the Research and Conservation Manager at SPNL. And first, we will start with a small introduction about our, okay, no. So we're done. Okay. Now we will start with a small introduction about SPNL. So technically, we are one of the oldest NGOs in Lebanon, established in 1986. We are the BirdLife Lebanese partner and the first IUCN member in Lebanon. And for mainly, SPNL used to focus on two main pillars, which is hunting management and protected area advocacy and implementation. This is what the startup for the organization, but now technically we're extending to a more wide scope for biodiversity, not just only focusing on birds, but like on marine species, mammals, herpetofauna, plants. So it's technically a more holistic approach. Technically, SPNL is known to revive the traditional system called Hima. So Hima is a concept that started in the Arabic Peninsula, where people were aware, like, yeah, resources are not here to stay forever, and we don't have a lot of resources. And if we want to share them, we need to know how to share them in a proper way and a sustainable way to make sure that we won't have any conflict. And at the same time, we will be sure that these resources will stay to maintain our own livelihood. And this is why technically SPNL is aware that we learned from them this concept, and we just added some scientific or technical approaches to make it more implemented or more practical in this new modern days. For now, SPNL have 28 Hima sites all over Lebanon. 3 of them are coastal, including Hima Anfeh that we will be discussing during this presentation. And technically, I've all these protected area called Hima. And by the way, the Hima is the 4th category of protected areas by the Lebanese law, which is a very nice achievement because the Lebanese law now is supporting local and community-based approach management for protected area, which is a good step. Technically, all our protected area are co-managed by the municipality and SPNL. The land, any land that is a protected area is owned by the municipality. Technically, it's a municipal land, and SPNL is co-managing these protected area just to raise the capacities, give them guidelines so they can do it by themselves and become a self-sustainable community. Okay, so Hima Anfeh. Hima Anfeh is a marine hima, as mentioned. It's It has a natural richness, a unique habitats, cultural identity, and historical heritage, traditional practices, and know-how techniques. It's a very rich city because you have the fishing, the salt mines, because it's something very rare in Lebanon and in the region, actually, because this traditional techniques to extract salt now are going to extinction. So, which is something that we really care about while working in Anfe. And it's threatened by like overexploited fisheries, pollution, tourism, invasive species, and climate change, technically like any other marine protected area, because technically we are living on the same planet. So the challenges, technically, let's look at this picture. So we have like this beautiful restaurant on the shore, and this is the problem because this is a shore and this is a very special habitat. And people, because they stopped to produce salt, they started to think about how can I increase my livelihood? And they thought about tourism. But sadly, technically, because tourism was booming in general Lebanon, they think only about mass tourism. And this is how things we're getting worse and worse. So we have the bad land use management driven by mass tourism, abandonment of traditional land use practices, especially salines, lack of knowledge of the ecological health of the area. So technically it's not well studied. There's no like follow-up on the monitoring of biodiversity, which is something that will decrease our knowledge and we can't really do any efficient impact if we stay like that. Usage of unsustainable technique for fishing, like technically anywhere. Pollution, mainly solid waste and chemicals. So yeah, Lebanon, we have a lot of solid waste and it's technically a big problem. And the problem when you talk about marine areas, technically it's not about the site only because we're talking about the national level of the solid waste because everything like dumped in anywhere in Lebanon or technically in the region could be impacting a protected area, which is something that we need to really to work on it more and more. And climate change and invasive species, as for example, the lionfish, since this is a species that the local community was technically working on it before even our like direct intervention. Okay, so technically for us panel, the objectives are like technically visible in this diagram. Our first, we focus on making or establishing an engaged community. This starts with raising awareness to make them know what's happening around them and know about their land. Then the capacity building to know how to act based on this knowledge. And here we go and we start with the participatory approach, which, as you notice, is from the first stage. So before doing anything, before taking any other decision, we engage the local community to make sure that any decision taken by SPNL or the municipality is technically advocated and wanted by the local community, and it's technically aligned with their capacities and their psychological acceptance and everything that could make them really involved on field. Then we go to the engaged sectors. Here we work on the management plan development, certification system for some practices. Here we're talking in general, for example, SPNL is working on agriculture, fishing, like anything that SPNL is technically promoting sustainable use of their resources. We do a certification system to make sure these people are technically willing to work under this certificate. And here we go to the green economy. So when you know how to do it, you're aware. So here you can start thinking about a new technique to increase your livelihood based on your knowledge, capacities, and the land tenure that you already have. And here we believe that efficient conservation will be achieved with self-sustained community, sustainable use of resource, and safe space for plants and animals in general, towards a better livelihood, higher resilience, and increased sustainability. So this is technically, in general, our way of thinking and work. Okay, so as mentioned before, we're talking today mainly on the development of citizen science. And in this presentation, I want to show you that to achieve to a point that you can develop and implement a citizen science, you need a proper involvement of these local community before going to this step. So this is all started with the management plan development, which we adopted a participatory approach technique to make sure like everyone is involved. So we started with situation analysis. We did some primary assessment. We interviewed all the locals, took all their opinions. We did an evaluation for these data. Then we did the stakeholder analysis. We mapped all the stakeholders, and the local community were the ones interviewing them technically and choosing them because they know much more than we do. Then we drafted a problem tree, objective tree, to go to cluster, strategic aim, smart objective, then action plan, and one vision for all of us. So technically, SPNL, the municipality, the local community, including the fishers, the salt producers, even like people who work on olive agriculture, everyone had one vision. And this is why we believe we can achieve this efficient conservation at the end. So we got like 4 strategic aims, 28 objective, 150 activities, 2 ongoing projects covering objectives for the 4 strategic aims. Technically, the local community and the municipality is now getting small projects for now to cover this management plan, which is technically, I consider it as a success because they are doing what they want and they are conserving the biodiversity. And they have a new established proactive HEMA committee. So technically they are working on their committee, which is a group of people working on the management, and they are technically the focal points of different stakeholders of the area. So they are like a representation of all the stakeholder of the area. Okay. So some implemented activity, we have developing and disseminating training for women on product design and marketing. So we help them think how they can make their products with a higher economic value, like just to have it unique products, pack it in some unique way, just because in Lebanon, we have problem with salt. Technically, the imported salt is much cheaper than the local salt. That's why people there, why should I do that? Let's make restaurants. So, and they started to make restaurants, and they started thinking about other unsustainable livelihood types. But then we started thinking, you have these plants, you have the special herbs. Why can't you just mix them with the salt, make this high-level products, and then increase the value of this salt, and then sell it to the market? It would be a different market, but it will be like a sustainable one and an efficient one. Developing and disseminating a workshop for fishermen, highlighting on importance of sustainable fishing on their livelihood, establishing a salt museum to enhance ecotourism and promote awareness. This is ongoing. Creating social event and gathering initiated by the HEMA committee to discuss subjects related to land use, practices, and cultural heritage, such as salt production. So now the HEMA committee is doing like monthly meeting, just gathering all the people from interested people from the community to discuss some subjects and reflect on some decisions. Then we have mobilizing Humat al-Hema. Humat al-Hema, it's a youth group where we raise their capacity in order to be involved in the implementing and the management body of the protected area. Hence, here we'll talk about citizen science. Initiating biodiversity monitoring for aquatic biodiversity with collaboration with Research Institute. So technically we have now the University of Balaman that technically is located there and is technically now involved in the research work so far for this point. Working on developing municipal decision targeting unsustainable practices, including fishing. Delivering environmental education for children. So we all know children are technically the base of everything. So that's why we are working on that intensively under a program called School with No Walls. Okay, so for citizen science program, so technically what we are working on, it's a national thing, not a just site-based thing. So it's a national thing, not a site-based thing. And all what we want to do is to simplify data collection techniques by different target groups. So technically, we mapped all the target groups and we assess the capacity of each one and interview to assess the capacity of each one to know what we can ask from them and to know if they can do it or they will want to do it. Clear schemes to build a comprehensive data, tailored data analysis procedure based on the needs. So technically, when we have raw data, we can use them in any way, in many ways. So technically, we're doing schemes to use them in different ways based on the potential needs, better decision-making and stronger advocacy tool, and more efficient conservation driven by community engagement. So the main results, technically, it was from the activities. We have the proactive HEMA committee, 2 ongoing project, mobilize Hamat al-Hamawi's group, citizen science manual under development, updated biodiversity database under development, and engage stakeholders such as youth and fishers. For now, these are the main, and we now are engaging the salt producers. So the lessons learned from like not only this year, like technically from when we started the management plan, is documenting participatory process of HEMA management and business planning, providing training to local actors is the key to the replicability and improvement. Technically, we revise. Technically, we need to make sure everything is documented to refer to it to make sure like it's going well or not. Importance of integrating HEMA community-based approach in the national legislative framework of protected areas, being the first category of protected area level, and the HEMA revival now is bigger opportunity to ensuring conservation on the national level, establishing and empowering a HEMA committee with equal representation of stakeholders will ensure a concrete ownership of the considered plan, and engage community that is involved in the early planning stage as a big strength to ensure the sustainability and implemented actions, and developing a management plan based on the local know-hows and dominant land use practice. So technically, we don't change the culture identity of the area. We just use it in a way and shift it to a more sustainable way. Okay, so for recommendations. So based on everything that we already have discussed, we recommend that a deep assessment of the socio-political situation in the target area could help to avoid unexpected obstacles and complications. And this is something that we faced because in Anfi, for example, there's 2 main political parties that are all over the country, and the fishers are technically from these 2. So technically, everyone that want to fish here, you want to just fish here, and you can't just come here because it's my spot to fish. So these conflicts, if we didn't understand them, we won't know why this is happening and why there is such conflicts. But because we got the chance to be on the ground and communicate with the local community, we got a clear vision on that, and we are technically working. And technically, a few days ago, all the fishers in Anfi from the 2 political parties technically were all gathered to think about how we can shift to more sustainable fishing techniques. A bottom-up practice approach should always be considered in early stages. I said that like many times. Transparency is always required to keep a good relationship with local community. So we should be very transparent, no hidden agendas. We always make sure that the local community technically is aware where they are going. On the ground presence will help build a better understanding. So technically here, let's talk about here even the citizen science. When a local people or any local target groups, they see anything on the field, any dead fish, any like element on the ground, it could be nothing for them. But when they are interested to share it with us, this will maybe like a sign for a crisis, maybe, because every crisis can start with a small observation that scientists, because we have a lot of scientists, but we have a lot of local communities. So their numbers are huge. So technically, the scope of observation will be much bigger than just involving science and researchers and managers and whatever. So this is why on the ground presence, it's very, for example, every day someone like texts me on WhatsApp and show me that I saw that and I saw that and what does that mean? So it could be hectic sometimes, but it's really interesting. Involving practices involving proactive local community members. So here we work with that with fishers and hunters. We as like any groups or any stakeholders, it's hard for us to communicate sometimes with other fishers or other hunters. So technically, when we work on a proactive community made of these people, so they will know how to communicate with a proper language. The third slide from the end of the presentation. Yeah, that's it now. One back. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And enhancing the knowledge and promoting environmental awareness is very important to make sure that everything is technically well understood by the local community, and giving alternative is the way required when communicating with communicating guidelines. So technically we can't give any guidelines without alternatives. And it's technically something that we think about the alternative before thinking about the guidelines to make sure like we have something to offer them to maintain their livelihood. And to sum it up in like very, next, please. Oh, next. I should do that. Okay, so technically the main recommendation that is like the big umbrella for everything technically that I have said today, it's aiming for biodiversity conservation while maintaining a total respect and protection for the local community, culture, heritage, ideologies, and livelihood. So because nature conservation should always be aligned with the implementation of technically human rights, because when you respect the human living in this area, this human will respect you and respect the area as well and will conserve it all along with all the challenges that you both have. And this is how we achieve like efficient conservation management. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, very much for an excellent presentation, and you share your experience with us about the citizen science, and also you have highlighted many really good examples. And what I'm really thank you for as an SPNL, that you have a co-management with the municipality and with the local communities, and you know how to playing this game with them. Really, it was a very nice example, and thank you very much for your presentation. And if there are now, we will go to the room or online. If we have some questions about this presentation, you have the floor. If there are someone he need to have a question, please. Okay.
Hi, Ali. Thank you. I'm Lydia Albanou from Axios Delta National Park, Neka, Greece. So because we have also salines and things like that, so I was curious. First, I'm curious about your common vision, because you didn't mention that. And I wonder, with hunters and fishers and salt workers, what was the common ground? And the second one is, you talked about salt production, and I'm not quite clear. Is it mining or is it evaporating seawater and have salinas? Because if it's the second situation, it's something very good for the environment. You see, because the wetland and the birds and everything. So, thank you.
Okay, so for the salt production, yeah, it's a traditional way by evaporation. That's why we are technically empowering them and making it a more increasing its economic value, because as I mentioned, the salt, the imported salt is much cheaper. So when they produce the salt, they pay much more than they get. That's why we are trying to make this technique or this practice have a higher economic value through two different things. The product designs for like a high-level design, high-level products. Second, the ecotourism. So technically, now we are working on a salt museum, and we are working on two trails called salt trails. So on these trails, people will be visiting the salines, like we're sitting with these people, and we will be technically some income for them because they are part of this trail and part of the guiding tours. So this is how technically we are initiating some alternatives to start believing that in their stamp that, yeah, you can produce salt, and this could make you some proper income if it's done in a different way, because the traditional way is technically, or just producing salt and selling it, won't make any difference. What was the first question? Yeah, so technically as a common vision, let's forget about a sentence, like the common vision in general. When we link everything with each other and everything is technically aligned with each other, like for example, when ecotourism serve agriculture and serve salt production, and then salt production serve fishers and fishers, so we all help each other. So our activity will have a better value, like naturally, economically, or socially. This is a common vision, because technically everyone will be interested in supporting the other, because the other is technically supporting the other one. Okay.
Thank you.
And just technically, when we start to was interviewing these stakeholders, they mention all their concerns. So when you map all the concerns and you map all the strength and opportunity, you just link them together, and technically the problem will be much better, much easier to be solved.
ideally, but technically as a planning system.
Questions? I
do you
have
some-
one. Yeah, there is one online.
No. You have.
Sorry.
Um,
I had one actually, Eli. Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned that SPNL is involved with 28 HIMAs in over Lebanon, and I was curious because you mentioned the importance of like field presence. From SPNL, do you have like field units? Do you have staff that are in contact with these local communities? Because we are always stressing the importance of having like local management units without whom it's very difficult to establish a contact and have understanding of the local issues. What is the situation at yours?
Okay, so technically on the present ground is made by local people, and technically they are sometimes hired as rangers based on their capacity. Sometimes they are on volunteering basis. We have technically 2 units, which is the fish and wildlife unit, like technically it's a unit for monitoring biodiversity and practices, and we have APU, which is the anti-poaching unit. Technically it's just for the practices of the hunting. We talk about the national level, not on just for the MPA level. So we start always by, when experts go on the field, we have always a local person or 2 local people going with him. Then these local people will be interested and they just call us like, when are you coming to the field? And I'm waiting for you, or like, let's go, or I'm going to hike like on Wednesday, you want to go with me to just do the monitoring at the same time. And this is we build a communication. And some, for now, for example, WhatsApp. So, when you can know the community is engaged when they open a WhatsApp group. So they open the WhatsApp group for hunters, WhatsApp group for wild photography, and they just send picture on that. And it's technically the simplest thing about this is citizen science, because we as technically people are interested in data, we're getting this data with picture and everything is documented with people that are loving doing that. So they are not expecting anything in return. And this is how we can be like everywhere, because we have this HEMA committee and focal points for each HEMA. Not everyone is technically a SPNL staff.
Thank you. Sorry.
So Ali Badreddin, I will have a presentation right now. So I will introduce myself just to like win some time. Just a small comment about all this, because we are really concerned as MPA. I'm also from Lebanon. So just to say something so much important, that don't forget the role of MPA. So during the presentation, it's good to talk about HEMA, communities, everything, but also it is like really very common to the objective of the MPA. So the MPA also have a big role to deal with hunter, fishermen, and also to involve like local community. I will talk about it during my presentation, just to take it in this way. So HEMA is perfect, but just like being under the umbrella of the MPA, because we know Lebanon, we all know how it's work and how we deal. We have the same objectives, the same thing: protection, conservation, and sustainable monitoring, effective management. So, okay, thank you.
Just to
Yeah.
like, I totally agree with Ali. Technically, just doing HEMA is not efficient, and just doing restricted protected area is not efficient. The good thing that's happening now in Lebanon, that we have the integration of the 2 approaches. Technically, the main objective with different approaches make it a more accessible objective, which is technically something that I totally agree with it.
Also, thank you very much, Eli. And also, really, I have seen that you have an HEMA committee. It is really very important that to involve the local communities and all the stakeholders that in the area. So really, it is. I think. Thank you very much to tell us about that, because it's really very much. I think will have an management effectiveness. So you have.
I'll just add to the presentation now,
Yeah.
since it will be shared like some links, because the committee did like a website for ANFE doing like some invitation for workshops. So I just want to put some links on this presentation when it's shared, so you can check how they are doing this stuff together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eli. And now we will move to the second presentation. So Melissa, you have the floor.
So the second presentation will be given by Ali Brandin. It will be also on the citizen science topic and efficacy monitoring tools for marine protected areas. Also a case study on Lebanon Tyre Coast Nature Reserve.
Thank you, everyone. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ali Badreddin. I am a PhD researcher, marine biologist. I'm also manager of Tir Coast Natural Reserve. I need my presentation on the screen, so. Technical issue. Perfect. So I will present citizen science as an effective monitoring tools for marine protected area. I will take Tir Coast Natural Reserve as a case of study. First of all, citizen science is a good practices for public participation and collaboration in scientific research. And it's bring all together local community, researcher, decision maker, also practitioner to deal with each other and collaborate. So they will collect data. So the idea is to collecting data as researcher to evaluate and valorize this kind of data. And after this to communicate it as we want, as publish it, as to doing like taking to the decision maker and communicate it with also the decision maker. That is so important. And it support us as engaging and having so hard data that we cannot have it. And also though, this kind of citizen science support action during this kind of local community involvement and also identify problem. So it contribute to change in any way. In concerning our Tir Coast Natural, our reserve in general and Tir Coast Natural Reserve, how this citizen science help us? It help us by prioritize the action, because when you give us this kind of data, maybe our means and our action was something. And when you give us this data, we find something new. So we change our priority. And also it's like planning. So it's involved on the management plan and also co-designing program, of course, because it's giving us the possibility to think about what we can, how we can solve. So as we saw, like in many sessions yesterday, it is about having a sustainable monitoring and effective management. That is the most important part. So here I will talk about Tir Coast Natural Reserve to present this case of study of involvement of citizen science. Tir Coast Natural Reserve is one of the 5 marine protected area in Lebanon. So there is 3 under declaration. The declaration is not mature yet, and we have 2. We have one in the north, the Palm Island Natural Reserve, and the second one in the south, this our reserve, Tir Coast Natural Reserve. It is like created in 1998, so we have many national and international designation of the sites. PAM is a site, also national cultural heritage, also the sand dunes are also classified. Our reserve is divided into 3 zones. The touristic zone first, it is like around 700 meter sandy beach. It is used for, so let's say touristic purpose, swimming, recreation, water sport, especially under the protection and the monitoring and the surveillance of the reserve. And also we have a visitor center. It is important to mention that we have a sea turtle permanent exhibition because we are known in Lebanon as Marine Turtle National Lebanese Marine Protected Area. So we work a lot on this kind of thing, and we trying to establish our, So we are trying to establish our also sea turtle rescue center. Okay, so, and we have a scientific zone here in the scientific zone. So we are working on monitoring bird, monitoring sea turtle, also a lot of fauna and flora species, terrestrial and marine one. And also we do educative trade for us, all the MPAs to do some awareness and let's say sensibilization. And we have an agricultural zone. It's about 200 hectare agricultural land. It is using for farming activities and food supply for 200 families. So they are living and working and eating from this land. Also, it is important to mention that here we have an important source of water. It's like a cultural heritage. Because of this composition of different source of water under the natural pressure, it gives us like a spring break. We call it the Ras Al Ain spring. And it is like, as mentioned, it is like a Lebanese national cultural heritage. What is our objective? Why I'm talking and describing this kind of Tir Coast Natural Reserve? To show you how this citizen science help us. What is our objective? As all the marine protected area in our Mediterranean is about education, communication, let's say social economy, monitoring, conservation, also to have infrastructure equipment, maintenance of this kind of thing. When you saw all this round, I don't know what's happening. So, yeah. So when we saw all this role, it's like to see where citizen science can be involved. So it can be involved in all the objectives in general. And to say that the most important is the protection and conservation and what you have. And of course, that giving values to our cultural and ecological sites in the reserve and putting in the hand of the local community, but under an environmental guideline structure. The efficacy and robustness of citizen science, how we touch it. In fact, when citizen science enter in our reserve, it gives us like to detect new indigenous species because we have this collaboration between diver and fisher and local community. So they observe, it's very easy. They observe, they take photo and they contact. So the fisher, I know every kind of fish. So fisher are more like, I can say, experienced than the researcher because they are always on the sea. So when they see something new, they will contact us. So when they contact us, we can like find this species. Like here, it is the first time that we found this kind of species. It's like Ctenophora. So system uvarinit, so it's a Latin name. And we mentioned it as a researcher. What we did like a first record and we published it on a international journal, and we deliver it to the community and to the Mediterranean also, so they can deal with this kind of thing. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not good, but it is new indigenous species. Yes, of course, detection of new non-indigenous species. Because yes, we are in a zone, especially the eastern one, it's far like 400 kilometers of the Suez Canal, is one of the most important vectors to enter the species from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. And yeah, we have this big problem, and the majority of first record and detection of non-indigenous species are coming from the eastern in general. Of course, don't forget the Gibraltar Detroit, but in general, this kind of thing, we saw the percentage. Like here, we detect for the first time in our coast because of this collaboration between researchers involved with Steel Coast Nature Reserve and the local community. We detect this kind of species and we can anticipate like this here solution or something. Maybe it is very dangerous because you know non-indigenous species take an invasive after character and it can be so dangerous. Of course, monitoring flag species like we have marine turtle, we have monk seal. Also monitoring the established non-indigenous species and how it's like doing this effect on indigenous one. And yeah, of this kind of involvement of local community, including diver, fisher, how it's helped us. Sometimes we have some environmental accident, as like, yes, last year we had this kind of oil spill accident in our coast. It like, we forget all the objective, our now new objective, so prioritizing action is to clean this coast. So all the people that already involved with us and working with us as volunteers are now trying to clean the beach. Also, we are training them to do the monitoring. So they are with us to do this kind of monitoring. Yes, because of our, yeah. Pardon. Okay. Now it's good, okay. So yeah, because of the work between researcher and local community, diver and researcher, today we have a map, for example, of let's say nesting sea turtle sites. So we have this kind of map. And also if we can see here in 2019, we have like around 80. After like 2020, we talking about more than 200 sea turtle nests. So this kind of thing, it's like, it's not only work of research, it's also work of local community, fishermen, diver. Let me say something that Lebanon is a small country here with a small coast. We got about 220 kilometers. So when we talk about MPAs, HEMA, and a lot of things, it is important to like be all together to do this kind of thing. And citizen science help us to do it. And also not only good things. So it helps us to identify problems also, because now we have enhancing our stranding network for like say marine species like sea turtle or monk seal. And when we have like any stranded turtle or monk seal, they contact us and they know that there is someone working on it, and we try to find solution about it. The efficacy. So here, for us, our role as reserve, for example, as Steel Coast Nature, what we are working on it. We are working on capacity building. So it depends on what do you want to work with this kind of community. So because many sectors have different like activities point. For the agriculture is something, for the sea is something, and also for, let's say, awareness, visibility is something else. So we are doing to do capacity building according to our activity. So the fishers and the diver, we know what we want, and they will give us the data that we want. Also awareness, and during awareness, when we are doing this kind of awareness, they are involved directly in our work. And this is so important because people, especially local, are more integrated in the activity and the management of our reserve. And it make us to take decision and to enforce like existing decision, because they will understand why we are taking this decision and why we are taking this kind of thing. For example, we have a decision taken by the municipality of Tir, and we have one of our committee and our member of the municipality, Mr. Muhammad, is also with us. They take a decision that there is no jet ski in our reserve. So it is taken by the municipality, not by the ministry. So this is not so much important. And this is because of this kind of involvement and awareness and capacity building. So it's because they are all connected. Here it's important to say that also many projects, without like saying it is like indirect, they are helping to have this kind of citizen science increasing. Today we have the AnswerX project is like ongoing. The AnswerX project is between 5 partners from Lebanon, Tunisia, Spain, and France. It's helping too. So there is a lot of objective in this project. One of them is like giving job opportunity, increase economy, capacity building, exchange, and communication to the social resilience of Mediterranean coastal area. Yeah, as I said, so this is the objective of this, and how this help us in Tir Coast Natural Reserve to increase this kind of citizen science. Because within this project, they give us like some tools to deal like some important challenges related with marinator, monitoring of biodiversity, and we put it like to the hand of the local community and the trainer that will train also the. It's like a capacity building. So that is the point. Also, it's helped us to have this kind of twinning program and exchange with other Mediterranean countries, let's say Turkey, also Italy, Spain. And it's helped us to like increase visibility and show like the Mediterranean country what we have, and sharing with them our results and our new discovery, our new data to have a solution. So all this to say that it's helping us also to increase citizen science, because as I said, citizen science is all connected with local, diver, fisher, anyone involved in environment and want to protect, and he don't know how. So we create this kind of community. So what is the way strategy of success? First of all, identify a clear purpose. As I said, make it this simple, clear objective. What do you want from this kind of local community? Good governance, it means like the objective. It should be also keep it simple. And for us, we have to give them this kind of awareness and capacity building. Also to be integrated, like the volunteers should be integrated, and this kind of local community, we have to go for them. We have to tell them, come and work with us and give them this kind of opportunity. Also always listening. So when you are trying to do this kind of analysis of data that we have received, especially new data, come back to this kind of local community and say to them what we found as a result and what we will do and what is your role and how you can help us. That is so much important. And here I can put like, we say it in French, un clin d'oeil, it's mean like something, a point to say about human rights here. It's so important. Giving like the edit and the copyright. I am right, Si Mukhtar? So it's so important. Yeah, so to find the balance between capacity, time, and resources, that is the main objective of all this. At the end, I want to say like 2 things, and the third I will let you like read it. First of all, keep an eye on the Eastern Mediterranean because it's so important. And as I saw in all this session, it's like to help people, to help countries that very need help and it's under like development and need this kind of capacity building and need this kind of help. And also our Mediterranean Sea need all of us, of course, and the ones that all I would know, alone you go faster, together you go further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. Really, it was also another experience we got from Lebanon today. There are two examples. Really, it's very important to have them here. So really, thank you very much for all the information that you give it to us. You have really played a good role, yeah, with the local communities. As we know, Lebanon, they have only 220 kilometers coastline, so it is really short if we compare with other countries in the Mediterranean, and there are many activities on this coast, so it's not easy to maybe to protect and to conserve the species there. But with this, I think the citizen science and others are to involve the local communities and the stakeholders. Really, it is a good example. Thank you, Ali. If there are some questions here in the room or online.
So this to also like a question before how we are dealing with hunter or with fisher. It is like to say to them what we are doing, what we are monitoring, to be clear, objective, clear proposal to make it like easy for them to understand. This one is like from the south. It is like I always forget the word, so sorry. As I said, this monk seal was observed and monitored by our reserve for 2 years. It coming from the most eastern part, and we call it also Liba. And it's like coming, in fact, it's this video, as I said, is taken by a fisher. And so this to show you how they are involved and they don't disturb her, so she can swim like free, and it's near the coast, and very, very near the coast. So if like we don't have this kind of awareness, this involvement of local community in our reserve, in our activity, I'm sure that this fisher will do something to this beautiful creature. So thank you.
Some questions there? Okay. Yeah. Give her the mic, please.
Thank you. Because we have Christophe, you raise your hand. So if you want to speak now, you can just open your mic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do you hear me well? Do you hear me well? Hello?
Just a second, because we cannot see you on the screen. Okay, now.
Yeah, wonderful. I hope also you can hear me well enough. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Christoph Schröder from the University of Malaga. We are coordinator of the INSERIS project Ali just mentioned. Thank you very much, Ali, for a very interesting presentation, which really gave very nice insights into the role of citizen science, capacities, local involvement. I just wanted, since the INSERIS project is a lot about co-management and cooperation between collaboration between marine protected area managers and city managers, if they coincide in space, like it's the case in Tiel. Maybe you could mention a bit of also your experience in Tiel regarding this cooperation, and how through this cooperation between the protected area and the city, how this triangle then together with the local communities can support and can be a success factor of a successful MPA management and development.
Yes. Hello, my dear Christoph. Thank you so much. And a very good question, in fact, yes. Concerning the Answerage project, maybe I didn't mention it on the presentation. For TIR as pilot area of this project is give us a lot of good and positive feedback and positive things, because first of all, as I said, is like giving like a kind of job opportunity, because we do like we announce this kind of sub grant is like under the framework of the project, and that help NGO to and be involved more with TIR coast natural reserve activities, and they are doing it under our supervision. This is first. Second is he put in our hand this kind of tools, let's say marine litter, or let's say Mediterranean monitoring biodiversity platform, and also dealing with our financial problems. So financial challenges, the ones that MedPAN have it in Tunisia, in the Monastir. So as one of them, it's like so important for us to be training. So kind of capacity building. Of course, don't forget the big role of Answerage project in this kind of doing for us this kind of twinning program and exchange and experience with other marine protected area, because we're taking people from our sites or from the municipality, engineer, expert, and also local diver fisher to go to the other countries to see how they are dealing with their marine protected area, and how we can like cooperate and fight common project and work on it and like build a new project for this. Also, don't forget the big visibility that we have because of this kind of project, especially Answerage of TIR, because we have the opportunity to participate, let's say, in many Mediterranean like conference and symposium, and having this kind of results and putting in our hand. So much important, and also important that municipalities now between, in general, in TIR, between the municipality and the reserves, there is like this bridge, and Answerage project help us to enhance this bridge. It's so important because we take decision and we can like enforce the application of this kind of decision that help us and help also the community and protect our ecological and cultural values. That is so most important. So thank you all.
Thank you, Ali. I don't know if there are some questions here or online. There are? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. I just want to.
I have a little question. Yeah, I'm Wajdi Aidi, Vice Mayor of Sfax.
Yes.
I want to ask you how your municipality support your actions.
Yeah.
Specific.
So yeah. First of all, we should know that the president of our municipality, Mr. English Hassan Boug, is also the president of the committee of the reserve. That is the most important point. And how it helps us, it's our role to let them know what we are working on and what activity we want to do and what kind of monitoring we want to do and how this kind of activity will help the local community and help, for example, to conserve the cultural heritage that we have and to valorize. And the most important part that the municipality should be concerned and help and having this love for environment. And we have the chance and the big help of the municipality because they are like this. And when we want to take a decision and apply like a kind of decision based on our scientific data, let's say, for example, we don't know now in our reserve, there is no jet ski. And we know everyone how jet ski can give like money to, let's say, reserve or other municipality. So taking a decision like this, it takes like a very, it's very important. But since we are this kind of decision is like killing a lot of turtle and it's dangerous for our environment. You know, we are also spammy. So we have like this kind of criteria. We should like put them on the right way and to don't to always evaluate. So he directly take the decision without any thing. But of course, yes, there is like this kind of cooperation. And don't forget something about the session that we are taking yesterday. Scoring during evaluation, scoring is not important. The most important is to find issue and to reach our progress. That is the most important. And this is how the municipality in TIR especially work with our reserve. So it's like in this kind of vision. Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. I had actually two questions. One of them was about the jet ski. I was very interested in understanding a little more how local community support can help taking regulations. When thinking of jet ski, we know it's very complex because within local communities are strong economic interest on activities like this. So it's quite impressive. I find that you can get the support of the local community to take a regulation on an activity like this one. So I was interested in knowing a little more. You partially answered. How did it work? And the other point I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned like the importance, well, like in many presentations, we hear the importance of a clear communication, of providing feedback to those who within the local community are actively involved in providing, like joining in this monitoring effort through citizen science. In another session was mentioned the need to think of simple indicators that are for citizen science useful both for the MPA but also meaningful for the one involved in the local community. What is your approach to this when working with fishers or with
diver? Very, very important question. So first of all, because now we should like doing like in this kind of way. We have now during the last 2 years, we start with this kind of capacity building, awareness, more involvement of local community. But when we take this kind of decision, it was not easy because we take a fight with the people that are doing this kind of job. And it's like a big fight. So it's not easy at all. In Lebanon, in fact, the concept of polluant payer, that anyone polluted should pay or taxes, it's not like working. So we cannot do like this kind of thing. We should take a law and enforce the application of this law. It will be unfortunately by power sometimes and by force, because we have this kind of illegal fishing and also in our country, let's say dynamites or plasts or something like that. But in our reserve in Tir, especially, the municipality do in cooperation with the reserve some patrolling. So when we saw a fisherman doing something illegal, we go for him and say to him, you are doing a not good thing. And we're trying to do this kind of diplomacy with him to say that it is not good because if you conserve the big one, more fishes will come, all this kind of thing. It take time, but he will understand after 1 year, let's say. So our colleague Christoph is by Zoom. He presents something in Tir so interesting to say with our colleague from Spain, from Medes Island, during the training program exchange, they said that, and it's important to say it, that if you protect something, it will not come directly. So the benefit will not come directly, it will come after 1 year. And how much fishermen and diver will understand this, or this kind of economy. But since we have a common vision between the municipality and Tir to say that the most important for us is the protection and valorization, what we have, cultural, environmental, ecological, and put it on the hand of the local community and to gain benefit, it's perfect because the municipality has the power to take this decision. So it is about power, that's the point. And for the second question about indicator, also very important. It depends on how many new data we have. This is first. We can take it as an important indicator coming from, of course, fisher or diver. The number of fisher or diver that, let's say, it trained to do like some monitoring stuff that we are doing in our reserves. That's almost also another indication. And how much this kind of diver and fishermen, when we go with them, are trying to apply, let's say fishermen is like not so much because we assist in a session of gender, so we call it fisher now. So fisher, how much they apply what they learn from us. So this is also so much important. Also, don't forget an important other indicator. Let's say how much they are involved with us in the projects that we have. So to let them having like a, let's say, a prize or an award. So when you give a fisherman a project, say to him, come and work with us, you should pay him. So like this, he will start to understand. Also diver, they will start to understand that, yes, our objective is to help them. Also NGO, so it's a part of the local community, don't forget it. So yeah, and we're trying also, this kind of communication is important. Also, it's also an important indicator because we are doing some kind of workshop, and so important with the presence of ministries. So now they have the way to listen. So the ministries can listen to their what they want, to their staff. This is so important also. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Ali, very much. So, Pierre, I think we need to shift the third presentation after coffee break because we will reach the coffee break soon. So it's possible to maybe apologize for Andrian from Albania. Maybe later, after the coffee break, we will start with the third presentation. And also, I have more maybe discussion about the MBAs and the involvement of stakeholders and local communities. Do you think that really it is? I think we need to have a socio-economic study to know the needs of the local communities and their rights in that area. You know, that's really, I think it is an important thing to do. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Si Mukhtar is really right about it. Concerning human rights is a very important point. So it's like make everyone on his position. So it's important that, like say, municipality know what they have to do, and also the local community know what they have to do. So it is kind of socio-economic, yes, but it's more like knowledge of rights. This is where it's also like researchers sometimes to give this kind of people was I'm thinking is like what we experienced about it. Fisher and diver, the credit. And that's their right in general. So when you give them the credit, they will start to understand that, yeah, I have like, I do something. I am involved. I engage it to solve a problem, to solve a challenge. This kind of thing. So a kind of, I think, an agreement of some clear right, and it's so important between especially local community managers and, let's say, decision maker, because it's like a cycle and it's all connected. So yeah, and as said before that, yeah, you protect, so you have to apply a law. So when you apply to law, you should know the right, why you're applying this law. That is the point, and that we are missing. So this clearance, so important, and make it easy. The most important is human right, to make it easy. Yeah.
Just a thought, not a question, actually. Because because we are always saying like participatory approach, like engage people, like respecting their ownership, their desires, their capacities. I think what sometimes happens, like we take something for granted or for obvious. It's obvious. Technically, it's obvious that we respect their right, but sometimes the procedures are got more complicated, or we go deep in the technical part that we forget this simple part and the starting point. And this is technically like just skipping the core of it. And this is something that we all use. You can, like in school, when you have like an exam and you just study the hard part, then you get the easy part that you can't technically work with it. So technically, I think just focusing and put it like I highlight the human rights and highlighting the social and the economic context while working on conservation, it should be something highlighted to start thinking on with it before starting any complicated action.
A little comment about it. It's important, yeah, because when we are doing this kind of thing, it's so important because, as I said during this presentation, is to be clear, to define what we want and how we want to work. So at the end, don't forget our main objective is that protection, conservation of natural resources, even cultural and ecological resources. So here we are talking this part of human rights. Human rights are bigger. So we are talking about environment. So this kind of things, like, I think, yes, you are right, but it can be done with less, more a clearance, and keep it like sample and give it like this kind of knowledge, and let's say pass it to the local, so in a way that they will understand it, and it helps us a lot to enforce this kind of law already existed. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. And Ili, if there are another question, maybe no one. Yeah. Yeah, just thinking about that. So really, I'm totally agree with you and what we have said about the rights of the people who was there in the area, because really, from my experience that I had in socioeconomic study in Gulf of certain Libya, but the main important thing that if there are someone who's working on the MBA, really we should take an account to have a key person who contact with the local community. Sometimes if we have a wrong person who he will destroy everything in the MBA. So at that time, really, I had my colleague from CERT and we went together. We spent 2 months to have this study in Gulf of CERT. So, and also we have met all the local communities and fishers in the village, also at the municipality and everywhere. So we have some questionnaires with them. And also, I still remember at that time we are thinking to have an MBA it is at the village, which is in the western of Sirte city. It was 30 kilometers, and there are a small village there. So we met with the locals there, and we have discussed with them about the MBA and what's mean the MBA and what the benefit that they will maybe in the future they will have from this MBA. But we don't promise them. We just tell them that we work together for that, and we involve you. What do you think about that? After really maybe just 1 hour discussion, really they asked me to add the village with MBA. So the people, when just telling them that they have an ideas and they build with you the management of this place, because they feel that this is their place. So they should be the first person who's caring for this place, but how you can dealing with them. So this is really, I mean, the rights of the local communities that we should have to start with them from down to up. And before we are established this MBA or do anything, just to start with them for all studies in this place. So really, I think this is very good lessons that we have learned from our experience in the previous time. Yeah. So maybe Pierre, if you have to add something, we still have 5 minutes.
No, what I wanted to add is not to start any kind of philosophical discussions before the coffee break that we all need, but it was like to build on what you said also. Indeed, I think that before getting technical, it's important to, as you recommended, to really highlight before going into any kind of participatory approach, the need for taking consideration human rights. And I think it's all the more important that the counterpart of rights are also responsibilities. And so I think starting highlighting human rights in a context, multi-actor context like any local communities, is also a matter of engaging people in their duties and responsibilities. So I think it's maybe one aspect of the discussion that while we can come back on if we have time like for general discussion later on, but it's certainly I think a very strong driver to everything we are like trying to achieve here, to like more explicitly maybe recall these things that we all know, but that are maybe often forgotten a little bit because we tend to jump headfirst into technical things rather than like sometimes, you know, going back to basics and really recalling these important principles.
Thank you very much, Pierre. I think we don't have any more questions, or if there is someone who need to add something about that. No, nothing. So yeah, maybe you can, Melissa.
I would just like to add that for me, it's very interesting that municipalities are actively supporting these local communities, which is, I don't know, in Montenegro, we face a lot of challenges to involve municipality in all the management process of proclamation and management and everything. So, because I think the political context is also very important. Here in Montenegro, sometimes we have different interests from the state level and municipality level. If we have a different political parties that are in the government, like the main ones, and the one that work for municipalities. So sometimes we have this challenge to attract municipalities to support conservation, because sometimes they see more interest in construction and tourism and building prior to conservation. So it's a very good example of municipality and local authorities getting involved in these processes. Okay, so
very important point. You know, because sometimes it depends also on the city and how it's like based. So, for example, for Tir is like more related with fishermen, not so much agriculture, let's say fishermen and tourism. So it is based on this kind of thing. And also for Palm Island, also we have the president of the municipality of Mina here. So Mr. Amir Haddad can also help us, because it is the same way we are working on it. So this kind of involvement of municipality, yeah, it takes time, but it's a big work. First, you should like go for it and say to them like, I have these results and I have this kind of data, and if you do this, you will have this, and it will let you in the future have this. When I said having this, I mean like funds, so project. Yeah, because when you protect more, you have more work to do. You have more like a project, and it's like this. So it's working like this, and automatically when you integrate like fishers and let's say a diver or local community, you are helping in a way or another the municipality, because you're giving like them opportunity, give them like some funds, and also it's help us, as I said, concerning the regulation. So applying existing laws, so important. So. And the game of human rights is important also. No. There is a Haima in Mansour, is like in the south of Tir. But as I said, we are a small country, and as I said, when we go together, we go like more and further, not go alone. And my advice is like always thinking about Haima under the umbrella of Marine Protected Area, because Lebanon is like a particular and special country, and as you said, concerning political, we are know about political in Lebanon, and we are doing our best to like deal with this kind of thing. But it's not easy, but it can be done. So it just like needs this kind of motivation and work all together. It's most important. So share what you have, what you are monitoring, and what you are doing, because we are so close, and Lebanon is like, as we said, a small country with a small cost. So doing like 28, let's say we have 3 or 4 Hima on the coast, maybe. We have like 5 MPA, and more MPA are coming. So.
Like to try to understand, when you say always think of Hima under the umbrella of the MPA, do you mean not to lose sight of conservation objectives?
Well, so
well, I don't know. I mean, because I don't know enough of the Lebanese context. Because you started saying like, very like first starting point is really to like the participatory approach, not mentioning indeed like conservation objectives first. So I was trying to understand. Just a
little bit, and I will let you go. My idea is like, do not isolate, especially for Lebanon, do not isolate the Hima from the MPA. That is so much important, because we are near each other. It's not like logic to have like, let's say an MPA after like little bit kilometer, another Hima, and we are not connected. So it is good to have a Hima, because it takes like decision regulation. It's the same, you know, in our MPA, we are working in the same way, but in our MPA is like more related with the ministries. So that is the decision to be like more national and more involved by the municipalities it take. For the Hima, it's only like municipalities.
Okay, as complementary tools over neighboring areas.
Sorry, maybe I don't know if we have just a last question, please, because we are on time on coffee break.
Question is sharing an experience with municipalities, because we have a coastal area. It's very heavily exploited by tourism. It's a favorite beach for all people around. So many people coming there. We have the sand dunes, and they are not respecting anything with SUVs, with all these cars and everything for 4-wheel drives. So we were talking with the municipality, just try to cooperate. You know, you have this added value of the Natura site and all this, you know, all these nice histories, but there was no answer to that. But when there is a bias, they call it the cognitive bias. You are more concerned if you lose something that you have than if you add something new. So they lost the blue flag because of all this, and they started to cooperate with us.
Yeah.
So this is the other way around.
Yeah, yeah.
We had to go the other way because they didn't kept to the values of the blue flag. So we say, okay, this is the way you want. Okay, you'll have it. And then they were, even now, they are not enlisted anymore in the blue flag, but they are trying their best to have a joint action with us, action plan. So maybe sometimes this is cognitive bias, but it's very useful to know that it's more hurtful for them to lose something that they have than to gain something new. They can't see so far, you see.
So,
thank you very much. And,
Mr. President, can I have
thank you.
30 seconds?
Okay, 30 seconds, because really
it's more helpful.
all of them, they need the coffee. I'm sure that.
It is to help. Flag, blue flag is mean like European Union, no? That is you mean. Oh, it's over the wall. So you know something. Okay, so just to let you, like sharing with you an experience, we have it during our exchange under the framework of the NSRS project in Spain, Park of Medes. They are doing something so important. There is like something called a European Union chart. They are like trying to deal with diver and with kind of this kind for mooring to regulate and control this kind of mooring. And they do this agreement, but for example, within the European Union, like some guidelines, something. So I'm not a European Union country, but because I'm doing this kind of insurance, I know it. And there is like some taxes about it. So the reserve like takes this and this independent, if you want, decision to protect and to do this kind of involvement on the EU chart. And after this, automatically the municipality understand it and go for it. So one of them is like to share, as I said, work together and share this kind of thing and take the opportunity that if you are in the country of European Union, take the opportunity of what they have as guidelines, because it will help a lot in kind of this kind of relation. Yeah.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, everybody, for this really nice discussion and nice presentations that we had in this session. So also, I'm sorry for Andrian and Anagnost from Albania that we are shifting this, the third presentation and after the coffee break. So we will have now coffee break for 25 minutes. We will be back here on 11 o'clock. Thank you very much for it. Hello, everybody, again, and thank you very much to be with us here again. It was really very nice at the first part of this session to have a lot of discussions and about citizen science. And also we have a really good examples, and they from Lebanon, they share their experience and how to engage with the stakeholders and with the local communities in general. So really it was good, and we will maybe have a discussion later, more discussion about all these things together. So the second part of the session will be, there are two presentations. We are moving slowly from the west, from the east to west. So we will have another two presentations, one from Albania, another one from Italy. So Melissa, please try to.
Okay, now we will have a third presentation, which will be online. So we invite our colleagues Andrea and Vaso and scheduled Anagnost from Albania to tell something about strengthening effectiveness of MPA management through direct involvement of local stakeholders. They will share their experience and lessons learned from a newly Albanian practices. Oh, it's so nice. It's a surprise.
So really, I was looking for you, and
Thank you,
I'm
thank you.
sorry
Yes,
to
yes,
shift
yes.
this presentation to
But
the second round.
you know, some logistics problems. I mean, I was concerned from the morning. I asked, and they gave me another location wrong. So
Okay,
thank you
good.
for
Thank you.
postponing.
Okay.
While my colleague is saying that he might have some problems in connection online, but anyway, I mean, I will tell him the story. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to share this complementary experience with the large family of Mediterranean countries and colleagues. My name is Andrian Vaso, and together with my colleagues Kerdilai Danagnosti, we had performed this activity recently in Albania. Is nothing special for most of European, especially Western European countries that deal with pesca tourism, but consider that Albania used to be for a long, long time, I mean, a closed country, and I mean, you know, touching the border or entering into the water was prohibited. So keep it in mind when we are a little bit more enthusiastic than usually on this presentation. Thanks to international funding organizations and agencies, Albania is moving forward now to complete its obligations and let's say establishing the requirements on protected areas in general according to the European standards. As well as, I mean, there are already established marine and coastal protected areas. Why we use this term is that these are complex habitats where there is not just marine, but is also coastal lagoons and terrestrial, let's say, habitats surrounding in most of the cases. The best experience that are present also here, and it was our cooperation, comes from Vlora Bay, where we have the first established marine park, Karabruni. And in addition to that is the second site, Karavasta, Divjaka Karavasta National Protected Park, where again, I mean, the majority of habitats is the lagoon itself. The involvement of stakeholders and also the definition of stakeholders in this process of establishing the marine protected areas was the first activity, and so far, I mean, we could say that, I mean, they are well defined and with clear roles what they represent. And in addition to that, the institutional establishment and the legal framework of marine protected areas, starting from the designation and establishing the necessary documents for management, are in place. As regards the sustainability, okay, it's a nice word, as all of us, we are struggling. I mean, this is like the dreaming goal and the vision for the implementation of protected areas and their goals. Albania, so far, I mean, as I said, they have established the necessary infrastructure in place and the systems, but still the administrative capacity, the requirement revenues to be self-sustained are still beyond the level of requirements, and it's of course, I mean, it's realistic as well. But at least it's a clear definition, and that comes also from a study performed for the Marine Protected Area Karaburun-Sazan, where there are defined 3 main sustainable goals, as are defined here: broaden and diversify funding for operations and management, I mean, always in terms of self-sustained. Increase relevance to local stakeholders and community, and provide and deliver communication, education, and awareness tools. These three pillars were used from the national authority, which is the National Agency of Protected Areas, to be adopted as goals for all protected areas network in Albania. However, we must also define an obstacle which comes from the limitations set up from the Ministry of Finance, where still, although in paper it's defined the self-sustainability by establishing the environmental fund, there are restrictions which comes from the financial system as well as from the international restrictions that the International Monetary Fund is setting into Albania, and this is a big gap towards sustainability. Here is a general cluster of factors involved in the protected areas management. As mentioned before, Ministry of Tourism and Environment. It's nice that tourism and environment are sitting and shared in the same let's say roof. Is the main authority under which is the National Agency of Protected Areas with the networking of regional administration of protected areas. NGOs play a major role as outsiders in activities which are mostly related with education, public awareness, capacity building, but also they play a role also in research, especially on census, for instance, census of winter waterfowls. Universities, as everywhere, with their academic resources, are the pool of research, and in coordination with the international programs, NGOs, and in coordination with the regional administration of protected areas, they conduct research and studies based on specific scientific capacities that they perform. Local government is interesting. They see the protected areas in two different angles. I mean, from one side is the beauty, you know, the advertisement for future development, attraction of tourism, But when it comes to sharing management roles, they are somehow the enemies of the protected area, or not the supporters. And especially big issues are those which are related with waste management, construction permits, and other local taxes, which might implicate, let's say, the implementation of the management plan itself. I mean, on the area where good, also in positive direction, is that every local government recently had established also its own general management plan of the territory, where the definition, at least of the protected areas, is clearly defined. But since the management is, I mean, in vertical top-down on protected areas, while the local government would like to see it also as their own ownership. You know, I mean, this is something, I mean, which still is, how to say, good to struggle, but not the right way to go further on. Okay. And last but not least, I mean, we should mention that apart from all these actors, we should not forget fisheries and fisheries organizations, which are inside the management, inside the territory of the protected area, and they are, I mean, you know, the actors and the very crucial, I mean, in overall, let's say, daily life of their activities. So based on that, okay, I skip it, but just to mention only the last paragraph. Good enough to be mentioned that, as I mentioned before, through international funding and mostly recently with the European funds of IPA programs, a lot of additional infrastructure changes and the capacity buildings were set up with the regional administrations by establishing visitor centers, which have created the physical infrastructure and where the visitors can get contact with the let's say, marine protected areas. So let's come now to the pesca tourism. As you all know, I mean, it's for us is a very relatively new development of sustainable tourism in Albania. During the last 2 years, AFCON, which is the private consulting company that I work, conducted this project, Pesca Tourism Promotion, under the framework of UNDP Albanian project, improving coverage and effective management of marine and coastal protected areas. Part of the support came also from the Italian Cooperation Agency. The scope of this promotion was to assess requirement expertise on fishery, marketing, tourism, and environment. As specifically, it was an attempt to identify key issues of crucial relevance to the project success and risks as well that require particular approach. The geographical area, as I mentioned before, this is the National Park Divya Karavasta National Park, where we deal mostly, apart from the regional administration, we deal with fishery groups and local entrepreneurs, while the other 3 areas in the complex of what we call Vlora Bay was divided in 3 different fishery organizations. One that deals with the Narta Lagoon, which is in northern part of the bay. The second, which is the fishery center in Radima. And the third, which is a small group, it's another coastal lagoon here called Orikumi. The project was divided also for management reasons in two parts. I mean, first we worked on the southern part, and secondly we replicated it in the northern part. I don't have time to say more details, but I mean also what we defined as I mentioned in the specificity of our scope was, I mean, to identify key issues which are relevant also with the specific area, and how, I mean, to link it also with specific actors, mostly in the local level and direct contact. This was, I mean, the crucial thing that we believe that we further, let's say, attempts and cooperation with the regional agency, regional administrations in both areas, the continuity of this seeding could be, let's say, a further success in time. So the actions that we performed were developing of pesca tourism offer that might, I mean, being compatible with the type of fishing in the area. As you saw, I mean, there are also different habitats and different, let's say, type of fishing in all these four sites. Establishment of requirements, because I mean, you know, it's a new process, and for instance, health and safety is one very important issue, and I mean, guarantee for applying this activity. Other things like features of boat training for fishermen and carry out adaptation necessary on participating boats. We had in each area several, let's call them pilot boats, or let's say pioneer boats. I mean, to demonstrate also what are the requirements and how to set up, I mean, the so-called pesca tourism boat and activity. Definition of the sort of pesca tourism to be carried out, as I mentioned before, on the type of boats and fishing areas. And last but not least, developing marketing and branding materials. Main actors in the from let's say top down, I mean, there are no aliens yet. I mean, the rest is the same. And results achieved through training and workshop on how to develop marine and sustainable fishing tourism. We disseminated also not only the information and defined as well the best line for further, let's say, actions, as I said, including risks. Guides on developing such kind of activities. So I mean, the full package of adaptation documents, requirements, and rules were developed, and they are now, I mean, the so-called library of resources for all stakeholders. And that, as regards guiding, I mean, it includes entrepreneurship in marine and pesca tourism, manual of good practices in the fishing sector, always focusing on marine protected areas link as well, code of good practice in fishing and marine tourism. In addition to that, I mean, the protocols for the startup of tourism business, which includes customer service, entrepreneurship. Since we were also in the period of COVID, still active COVID, I mean, the protocol of measures against COVID was an obligation of the contract. And apart from that, organization of the tourist office and developing marketing materials, including 2 video promotion, which were launched also in YouTube. Next is upgrading pilot fishing boats, as I said, the so-called pioneer fishing boats, and providing also infrastructure support for them. And the last is opening day of promoting pesca tourism and tourist activities in both sides that were presenting. Before, voilà. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. Again, I mean, it's the starting point. It's the, let's say, the background currently in Albania. So I mean, these are let's say the lesson learned, let's say, under the frame of the country itself. So the current funding baseline for the marine and coastal protected areas and capacities to administer and improve protected areas revenue streams is still, I mean, part of the overall issue to be filled in. So there are still, as we said, I mean, requirements to ensure that coastal protected areas are properly served, their functioning as an important tool to protect biodiversity. In institutional level, a strengthening of capacity starting from the ministry and the agencies, which need to have the ability to secure sufficient, stable and long-term financial resources for protected areas. In brackets here again, they have the willingness, but in some aspects, I mean, it's not their fault why, I mean, they could not fulfill the full package here. Allocate these resources in a timely manner and appropriate from the to cover the full cost of protected areas. Here, we could say also a good initiative is that the national agency, with a lot of efforts, I mean, try to break down this wall of centralized funding collection at the Ministry of Finance by providing, let's say, a kind of amendment. But again, I mean, even this amendment needs to have further regulations on keeping, let's say, the incomes, the direct local incomes into their budget. And third, ensure that the protected areas are managed effectively and efficiently with respect to conservation and other complementary objectives. Just to mention here, because could have been even previously, the skipping slide. So generally speaking, I mean, Albania now is very attractive in terms of tourism. Selling also the ecotourism or selling also, but in fact, I mean, the tendency is mass tourism, and the tendency also in these protected areas is that the touristic, let's say, companies, and in general, I mean, although there is the same roof, tourism and environment in the ministry, it seems that the balance goes more to the tourism income, and the pressure into the protected areas right now is bigger enough. And the first impact that it's obvious is the left behind a waste. Due to many reasons, I mean, the protected areas and the administrations have to put a lot of efforts together with NGOs and other, let's say, small resources from outside, I mean, to clean up, I mean, the protected area. So, I mean, it's a kind of rolling snowball that sometimes is not, you know, controlled. And in fact, I mean, how to say, one good thing brings, let's say, the impact, and the impacts needs to be mitigated. So, this is the world in the end. But we are small. I'm afraid that we, or the conservation side, we are small, and the big ball, I mean, is rolled by other, let's say, interests. Anyway, I'm not pessimist. Legal framework. Here, there is no sufficient legal framework, although that the current, I mean, law on fisheries have a small definition, small lines, which says that with the same license, I mean, other leisure activities or it's not defined, I mean, pesca tourism or, I mean, fishing tourism per se, plus also what are the further regulations to regulate it with the requirements of the management plan within the protected area, and what, I mean, needs to be further developed. This is a big chapter that needs, I mean, to be elaborated with all requirements and to be, let's say, the best, how to say, best mosaic in the end. And as we said, I mean, when we see that there is a small hole in the receiving, let's say, local funds with local activities, as it is the pesca tourism, and to fulfill, let's say, in reality, the management plan through, let's say, revenues which are in friendly with the environment, fulfill, let's say, the requirements of the management plan. Here needs, again, I mean, to be elaborated further detailed regulations. Also, system of how we call it in finance, a system of sharing the revenue and what remains, I mean, in the park and so on, which is not, I mean, an issue dealing only with you know, building these stop barriers and pay to the park or this, but needs to be more, how to say, I mean, more wise. And right now, for instance, they are talking in Divya Karavasa that could be, you know, these apps that can feel also this kind of system, I mean, intelligent systems of collecting this, but, you know, too early to talk in reality for that. So coming to recommendations. more or less, I mean, mitigations rather than recommendations is first is regulatory framework, which needs to be developed and have efficiency in the national and local regulations, which cover security and safety aspects, first of all, for passengers, regulate fishing methods, and recognize pesca tourism as a fishery diversification activity. Networking and coordination is the strengthening of partnership and synergies that should be created between protected area fisheries and touristic sector. Sometimes, I mean, we like to say that fishermen should stop fishing and, I mean, start to fish, let's say, tourists, but I mean, they don't have time. I mean, it's not their, how to say, even approach to think about that, and that's why, I mean, this synergy must start, I mean, with the involvement of the park management, with a more, how to say, wise and long-term approach, but with very specific targets and stakeholders. As regards the planning of the management plan of the protected areas, development of a tailored initiative for the local community based on its real needs rather than copy-paste, you know, activities, and ultimately, especially promoting where is really historical village, fishery villages, which are, you know, somehow diminished or not so much, I mean, supported. And that will be really much more sustainable because, I mean, it will involve also the economy of the community together with management planning, I mean, and the goals behind that. Education and training, of course, I mean, never stops. And here, I mean, of course, the best will be when the pesca tourism sector having, let's say, the enforcement and regulatory frameworks will come out as a formal certificate of pesca tourism. But that is the goal. Financial issues, as we said, I mean, how to bring, I mean, fishery management organizations and how to guide them, I mean, in synergy with the protected areas and to integrate pesca tourism in the economy of the area. This is the next, I mean, not how, but recommendation. And last but not least, since we are talking for citizens, science, I mean, scientific monitoring, I mean, is part of this component, and I mean, could be win-win situation also in such activities, and fishermen could consider themselves also contribution to the science. That's it. Thank you. Should I say or should I?
Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, you should stay here a little bit. Maybe there are a lot of discussions and many questions we have in this session. So really, thank you very much for your excellent presentation, and you share your experience. And really, we had some experience from Lebanon today, and now we are moving to Albania. There are another one. So thank you very much for that. And also, you have mentioned about you are working together as agency, NGOs, universities. So it is really very important. And also you have mentioned about the local communities, that they should be the part of the MBA, and they can start from the beginning with you to doing management plan and everything to be part. So this is also the kind of human rights that we have mentioned today morning. So I think maybe there are some questions here or online. So please feel free to have any comments or questions, please.
Yes, thank you very much. You partially answered, but I was very interested when you started mentioning that indeed in Albania, tourism and environment are under the same ministerial roof. Well, so you partially answered because you said that the reality is that the balance goes more to tourism. How does could translate, if it translated like in any kind of facilitation of integration of a better integrated approaches of challenges that sometimes are contradictory to one another when it comes to local communities where tourism and environment do not always match. And from this also, so you mentioned, so it's not especially my question about pesca tourism. I understood, which I think is the case in many areas, that often one of the big constraints to further developing pescatourism is indeed the lack for legal framework that is just allowing it. In this context, again, where you have under the same roof environment and tourism, still if you think that can be facilitating taking suitable legal frameworks for supporting activities like pescatourism or other ecotouristic activities in a context that still is marked by mass tourism.
I mean, very complex question and a very, you know, I mean, I have the time restriction, but I mean, you know, it's another workshop. I mean, issue. I mean, all this, but I'll try to be, how to say, very focused. First of all, you know, I mean, the speed up of one sector with the other. I mean, although that they look very close, they have different speeds. I mean, the speed of conservation is much more slower and more complicated to be addressed, let's say, and to be translated into the community or to the tourists and so on. Secondly, is that governments have, you know, their 4-year or whatever, I mean, status of governing every time that they are elected, and it seems that they like to put the conservation as a jewelry, but not too much to promise, because I mean, within 4 years you don't achieve, I mean, many of the objectives that the government set up. While we are also, how to say, I mean, concerned that, I mean, this is a day-to-day, although that the goals will come not in 4 years, but maybe in 5, 10, or whatever. So I'm not, I don't have experience in how to say, I mean, decision making, but I think, I mean, it's a good approach, at least, to have tourism and the environment within the same roof. So also let's say the components goes together, and somehow, I mean, it's better to have, I'm not, how to say, I mean, cynic, but it's better to have environment and tourism rather than, let's say, I don't know, infrastructure and environment together, because I mean, the understanding is even further beyond, I mean, the goal, and also the pressure is much more stronger on the other side. One good initiative that was placed in Albania, and I mean, my Albanian colleagues could add on that, is, for instance, it was combined the last years before COVID, if I'm not wrong, an initiative from the ministry, Smile Albania, where they were presenting, let's say, the beauty and let's say the translation of the biodiversity component was given much more easy and much more better also to the other, let's say, brotherhood side of the touristic agencies. The other thing is that it's always the story of don't do that and countries goes and do that. Don't do massive tourism. We are, you know, the carrying capacity that was mentioned, I mean, is small. And what is happening now, for instance, in the Vlora Bay, is that this is the point. Let's say the attraction of the new marine park, I mean, was taken very fast from the touristic promoters, and they what they did, they dealt with the investors, and now it was mentioned the first day there are 16 tour boats that goes every day, you know, like a highway from the harbor to the other side without having regulations from the park. Why that? Because the park administration is somehow, I might be very rude on that, excluded from the decisions. I mean, the local government, for instance, I mean, they set up the taxation, and the taxation do not have, let's say, a component. How much will remain, or what is the damage? Do we have, let's say, mitigation measures also to monitor, I mean, what happened next year? Why the level of waste is increased in the protected area, and what I mean, should be the mitigation of that. So it's always this trend of earning and promoting it, but the promotion don't go to the right direction. Even that could have been, I mean, more suitable for win-win situations. And in the end, the park administration, although they are very concerned for that, I mean, they don't have also the financial means to deal, let's say, with, as I said, with the environmental fund, or to have, let's say, what's called amendments due to the, let's say, mitigation requirements that should be, and so on. So more or less, I mean, they survive with the budget fund as it is, and doesn't matter if the problems are up or down or specific issues come out. But it's a very complex, issue, yeah.
Just to understand, like, so the regional administration for protected areas, so RAPA in Albania, is there an equivalent under the Ministry for Tourism, or does RAPA integrates already, reflects, you know, this tourism environment under the same room at the local level?
No, from the legal point of view, RAPA is the administrator of the protected area, although that they have the touristic component and so on. But I mean, the actors are outside, and I mean, the ministry deals with that. Or let's say it's not only the ministry. I see it more from the local government. I mean, pressure. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you have another. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. As Ardian was saying, the ministry is called Tourism and Environment, and as such, it has different agencies dealing with different topics. So there is NAPA, which is the agency dealing with protected areas, including RAPA Vlore. And then there is a tourism agency, which is still under the same ministry. Then we have a coastal agency, which is still under the same ministry. And all these agencies and others, they have some aspects of management that deal with marine environment, and they have normally to cooperate together, which is not happening in practice. So this is the problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrian. So we have a good example, but really you need to work a lot to join all the institutions together to work on the MBA there. So Melissa, maybe you have the last presentation.
Okay, now we invite our colleague from Italy, Caterina Iacono from Marine Protected Area Regno di Nettuno in Italy. She will present project Remare, which is a network for the sea, and tell us more about good practices of collection and disposal waste accidentally recovered at sea during fishing activities.
Okay, excuse me, I am thrilled. Hello, everyone. I'm Caterina Iacono. I come from Regno di Nettuno MPA in Gulf of Naples in Italy. This is the MPA, and was established in 2007, but started seriously the activities 10 years later. The MPA interests the seas around Ischia, Procida, and Vivara Island in the Gulf of Naples in the middle south of Italy. First, some background information. Has two important features. The first is an important Posidonia oceanica pratery that surround the island for 8,600 hectares. And the distribution of the Posidonia its distribution strongly influenced the definition of the MPA zoning. Moreover, the other particularity is that Regno di Nettuno is the only Italian MPA that has a designated area of specific protection of marine mammals inserted by the UCN in the important marine mammals area of Ischia and Ventotene for 4 case species. Delphinus delphis, Tursiopius truncatus, Balenottera phylasus, and Philester macrocephalus. Okay. The Regno di Nettuno MPA with 11,256 hectares is the largest MPA in Campania. and have 2 protection zones adjunctive respect at the other. The canonic zones are A, B, and C. A, integral protection, B, general reserve, and C, partial reserve. The 2 adjunctive zones as BNT, no take zone, special general reserve, and the D zone, particularly for protection of marine mammals. The problems we affront is that in Italy, until the 2022, the marine pollution legislation was not clear, not very clear. Italy was implemented several national instruments, but slowly. Pending a regulatory adjustment of national level, was experimental projects for recovery of west of the sea were increasing. Numerous experiments have also been carried out in the water of Regno di Nettuno since 2018. It was a development other time project, also in partnership with the other entities, and in order to develop protocols and involvement, in particular, small-scale fishing operators, an important category, in protection of, in conservation of the sea, which also helped to improve the management of the problems in other places. The need to involve commercial operator living from the marine resource in the environmental protection activities of MPA has given rise to first trial between October and November 2018, which true contribution of the metropolitan city of Naples for municipalities of the coastal strip, one for the cleaning of the seabed, Ischia Clean Blitz, and one for the cleaning of surface water in net. First result was that but the project Ischia Clean Blitz and Rete contributed to the birth of a collaboration with MPA, with the artisanal fishermen for cleaning activities. These activities during now, still now, with extremely satisfaction results and great involvement of operators who have finally felt an active part in protection of the element which they live off. The interest is high. In these pictures, the last one, you can see the whole Minister of Environment in Italy that want to meet our fishermen that participate at these 2 projects. 1 year later, from August to October, the main idea of the new experimental project, Remare Network for the Sea, has been extending the activity to a wider territory and to a greater number of participants. Thanks to the opportunity provided by a contribution of Regione Campania, the partnership between Campanian MPA for MPA and the Trade Association of the Fishing Sector was born, and Remare represented a big national innovation in this file as well. The synergy enables, with environmental about 500 fishing boats in a big marine area from the north of the south of Campania for about 5,200 hectares of sea. Involved the Marine Protected Area Regno di Nettuno, MPA Punta Campanella, and 2 MPA of Parco Nazionale del Cilento e Vallo di Diano, MPA Santa Maria di Castellabate, MPA Costa degli Infreschi e della Masseta. This is the area. The 4 MPA with 22,000 of hectares of MPA, and in this zone there were natural 2 mile cities and sites, and the total of hectares are very important. Is a larger territory. The project, almost the professional association of the fishing sector present in the region, having joined in the partnership. The percent, 55% was private partners of the sector of fishing, and 44% was a public institution. The number of the participants was important. 510 fishing boats involved in the project, and the financing was about 1 million euro. The project interests 15 ports of the region. The problem in Italy of the fisher was that previously they were forced to discard into the sea the object collected in nets, because bringing them back to land was problematic, in some cases risky, and especially uneconomic. Thanks to the experimentation, we get the special bags have been provided to be placed on board, and in which they collect the object cooked during the fish, and it given them the opportunity to entrust them without bearing any burden for disposal, and receiving an economic incentive for their time. In order to assess the economic incentive, fishermen exit cards were used to calculate the amount of the incentive to give them. To distinguish the boats participating in the project, fishers have been distributed stickers to be placed in their boats. The project is linked to the proposal to improve the management of marine waste recovery, garbage, that apply the proven methodology. The main assumption was based on 2 hypotheses. The first one is the need to protect the environmental resource and the target species present in the territory, and the need to involve the protection those who live of marine resource. Involving commercial operator who work with marine resources, and the environmental protection activity of MPA is an important necessity. Another priority is begin to be mitigated the environmental impact that some activities have beyond the sea, and become able to reduce the amount of pollution present, especially of plastic origin. Okay. Main action of the project. The approximately 500 fishes boat that took part of the initiative had the opportunity to deliver waste collected in 15 ports located along the coast of Campania, from Pozzuoli to Sapri, in days and timetable established according with to a calendar prepared with the company in charge of the wide loading, transportation and delivery. A campaign, communication campaign was very important. Honest leasing information campaign have been carried out prior to cleaning, which are essential to try reduce waste production to raise the ghost fishing awareness among the fishers. In another 8 seminaries have been held to the main ports of the sea affected of the activities, and 3 events for disseminate the results of the activity, with the production of dissemination of informative material about the project, marine pollution and degradation of the sea. There will also be constant communication on social media and on the activity carried out. Data analysis tell we some information important. The cards of the fishermen was numerous that they collect, about 11,000, and we can have a lot of information. The period of during the period from August to October, they was the vast collected was 19,000. Important quantity. These are the percent of typology. Plastic is the most abundant waste for 64%, and the other material are okay. The importance of this project is that practically constituting is the application of a good practice first that hello was promulgated, was approved, and is for the first time a synergy between public authorities and economic operator was being activated. It involved the entire region territory in a single system action. Here, this is an innovation, and the methodology not yet, was now. The Salva Mare law was approved on May 2022. When this law was approved, some fishermen that participated in the experimentation came in office and they said, we win. It was a very, very important signal of friendship with them. We have experimentation, a multi-level and a governance system with, in which the parties have been discussed. Have been a collaboration of fishers in collecting the waste, collaboration with the company that has represented the rubbish, and collaboration with all. For Campania reason is not is important this project because in Italy Campania region was famous for negative action in order to waste management, and with this action we have for the first time given a positive demonstration that if you want to make a good job, you can. Okay. The main lesson learned is that the cooperation with the fisher is very, very important to improve the management of marine litter. Recommendation for managers of MPA. Listen to the problems of small-scale fishing operators, because their problems are the problems of the managers, become a point of reference to solve their problems, and create a relationship of mutual trust. Voila. And excuse me for my bad English.
Thank you, Katrina, for this really nice presentation, and really it was give us another examples from our Mediterranean that they have a good collaboration with the fishers, how they are dealing with cleaning the sea and move all the nets that they have there. So it is really a good start to build the trust with them and to involve them in those activities in general in the MBI. I think this Nablus Bay, there are another island, it's called Capri. I have been one day there in this place, so it's really very beautiful with a Grotta Blue and other places. So I'm sure this place is really very interesting for biodiversity, for the fishers, for everything. So thank you very much for all the information that you had within this presentation. And if there are some questions from the room or online, you have the floor, please. Okay, yeah. Please give him the mic. Yeah.
Hi, congratulations. It was such a good experience. Yes, I think I agree with the chairman that sometimes we have to, of course, we have always to listen to the other sectors as how they perceive the MPA or what they really need to do. And sometimes their first proposal has not much to do with conservation, so to say, but it's important that we work it together. So to gain this confidence, and after that we can go towards more biological objectives, because sometimes we biologists we want to go to our biological conservation objectives, and people would not necessarily understand, or it's not their priority. I think it's so important that, for example, as you did with the garbage, which is usually a burden for the fishermen, solve it, and then you get this confidence, then you can go towards sustainable fisheries with them. I think it's so important just to be open and to listen.
Involving the person, called the citizens, the fishermen in the protection of their area. If they are part of the management of their territory, they help to improve the action for making a new action for the implementation of
yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really, it's interesting to have like this collaboration with fishermen. As you said, it is really very important to build the trust with them, to be to take them with us in our MBA. So it will be really get the benefit from all the, all of us who's dealing with the MBA, and also the main good thing that when you involve them in such as activities, they will get the benefit also. So also another rights again. So really it's very important, and I hope that we can, if there are some other questions or interventions, you have the time.
You protect what you love.
Yeah,
if
sure,
you love
sure.
your territory, you protect it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes, thanks a lot for this presentation.
Thank you.
Super small, but it's more like a thought. Like I think one of maybe also the challenges when talking about bottom-up collaborations with the local community is of course also the question of financing, because the time is needed to build, you know, these dynamics locally. Here you mentioned that the project was supported by FEAMP, so that the EMFF,
the last one, yes,
the Remare, yeah,
Remare was a financing with the FEAMP.
yeah. Now, it's just to share the thought that this is maybe an aspect we should also think of a lot, how to have and foster more opportunities of bottom-up, you know, well, of funding opportunities such as the EMFF, which is indeed like EU finance funding instrument. So outside the EU should be also opportunities for funding really bottom-up opportunities. Then I don't know much. I heard it's not always easy to have like an EMFF project. Who was coordinated? Was it at the region itself, the authority?
No, the partnership was made by MPA.
MPAs?
For MPA, one was head of partnership, and involved in the partnership fisherman association of category, and they involve their fisher, small scale operators.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I would just like to ask, you mentioned in the beginning important marine mammals area is a part of the MPA.
Yes, is a part of MPA.
So I would just like to ask about the fishing regulations in this area, and does this project also apply in this sense?
Is the rapport with the marine mammals and the fishers was difficult because they operate in the same sector. Yeah, but in our area, with several information campaign with the project involve the fishermen, we talk, we speak them that is important the protection of these species, and step by step they are not I don't have the word, but they are collaborative, and they know that the protection of these species is important, and they can fish in a different zone and live together without problem. Okay.
So really, thank you again, Katharina. Really, it was very nice, and also for Emma, it's which is in marine mammals important areas. It's really very important, and we know as well that there are interaction with the fishermen so it's not easy to dealing with that, but let's say start step by step. But also I have maybe some questions that I think you have mentioned that I think you are dealing with some fishermen with 501 boats. 500, I mean, fishermen, they are working with you. So really, this it is really good number that you have this. But
in
all of them,
Campania region.
yeah.
In MPA, there were 18.
18. But in general, you have that at, I mean, you're in Gulf of Nebo.
Yeah,
you have,
they fish around the islands.
Yeah.
Especially, and with the project, we involve the other fishermen of Campania region.
Okay, thank you very much, Katrina. And maybe the air now. So I would like to thank all of you. We still have 20 minutes to continue discussion about all the presentations that we had today. So may Pierre, we just maybe think to have some recommendations about the session, and we can discuss about those recommendations and to highlight the important that we need in our session for citizen science and also for human rights, because we are dealing, as we have seen in all presentations, with the local communities that they need their rights in our MBAs. So we should take in account to involve them and to be with us, and also to give them the benefit from this MBA, because this is their site and we are working together as one body. So if there are some recommendations, maybe we can start with, and then we can discuss about those recommendations. Thank you. Or if there are someone who have some intervention or some things, yeah. Floor is yours. Maybe let's start with you, Pierre. Yeah.
So indeed, I put it as a question just from notes that I took. I think, well, if the idea is that we take these 20 minutes to maybe think of what should be from a session like this one, the 2-3 important recommendations. One note I took was like started from your comment earlier, Eli, was when mentioning the need for highlighting the human rights, socioeconomic challenges before even going into technical issues when it like comes to any kind of bottom-up initiative or participatory processes. I find this is very important maybe to think of it. I'm just thinking of the way we are, for example, introducing MPAs from in MedPAN. You know, we are referring to legal frameworks, those of conservation. So the CBD at the international level, the Barcelona Convention, etc. But at the same time, we have we are pushing from all sides with you all the network of MPAs, recommendations for shared governance, for community-based approaches, for co-management, for participatory processes. So I'm just wondering if here is not indeed maybe a strong need that besides making reference when we talk about MPAs and then bring recommendations, when we make reference, besides the reference we make to these legal frameworks that are those for conservation, we also make a clear and explicit reference to human rights. From your point, I thought also, because this was my comment earlier when saying talking about rights is also engaging communities in their responsibilities. So it's just like maybe a question that is a little open to discuss if there was something, a recommendation, how should we turn it in the sense? Is it just to make reference to human rights clearly as we do to conservation frameworks?
Okay, so just to add on this, adopting this procedure, like considering human rights as one of the baselines when considering conservation, is technically one of the, I think, the motto positive initiative, because we always make people feel like they are the evil guys and they are destroying nature and they're just trying to survive. That's it. So let them do it in a more sustainable way and make sure like our conservation efforts technically is aligned with the human rights, because technically there is a right to live in this land that we are conserving. So I think it's the best approach to make sure like we as conservationists are technically supporting the local community and they will support us as well. And it will be beneficial, I think, at the end. That's
Yeah, thank you, Ilya and Pierre. Really, it is, I'm sure that all the local communities, they are will involve with us, and if they have the benefit from this MBA, and be sure that the rights on human rights in general, it is the important issues that we should think well about. You know that even now, I mean, all the organizations, they are thinking about even for the conservation of biodiversity, it is came from the human rights first. If we are give them the benefit, and they will be part with us in this MBA. At that time, you will save the time and also the money to reach our goal, which is the conservation of, in general, biodiversity. So really, we will together win, and we will go maybe fast to have an management effectiveness in this MBA. So really, I think that very important to highlight it in a new way. I'm sure this is when we are talking about citizen science or human rights at MBA, it is a new topic, but we can do something and it will make sense soon. Be sure that. So thank you very much for all this. Yeah.
Thinking loud, yeah, and building on what we started discussing here. We are here in a workshop where we want to talk about management effectiveness. And it's true, it's already as a topic, a way to shed light on, qualitative components in the international CBD targets, where everyone is stuck with a 30%. Well, indeed, it's not that no one thinks about effective management, but still we are here to shed light and make a strong highlight on the need for effective management. But thinking of the target, these targets, the previous Aichi target and the one that comes now, next to effective management is written equitable management. So here, I think maybe in this workshop on my point here is maybe in this workshop from what we could hear in the session, not only this session, in many sessions actually, is maybe that we should indeed maybe make this emphasis. We want in this workshop to emphasize the need for effective management, but we want also maybe to emphasize something that was really well reflected in all what we could hear today, that equitable management is probably a condition to effective management, and maybe vice versa. I don't know if it's something we should really highlight as a recommendation. Let's talk about.
Yeah, really, it's good, and also I'm sure that we have now as an MBA managers, we have really completely different examples in our Mediterranean. You know that there are, if we are talking about the MBA in Libya, let's say Ain Ghazal MBA, which is far from, just the small village there. And if we compare it with the Lebanon or Italy or France, there are some MBAs which is crowded, and maybe there are many restaurants that we have seen in Lebanon. So really, we try to share the ideas because we have really in our Mediterranean, there are many good examples that we can dealing with, and maybe we can make maybe a template to go from bottom to up to build our program in general and our MBAs. Yeah. If there are some other recommendations. Yeah, maybe, Melissa.
So we all realize that the local communities are the key stakeholders of the MPAs because they are in this constant interaction with this space, which is protected. So I think the very big role is on MPA managers because we heard a lot of good examples of these practices to involve them in all the management process, but they should push more. So they need to provide with more opportunities them to get involved. So these residents and local communities, they should also participate in meetings, public hearings, and all the other steps, not only like some small project, okay, when it's finished, but all the time in the whole process. So they build a strong trust between the managers and the local communities. I think that's the point of everything. So to build this positive MPA attitude.
Thank you, Melissa. Maybe if there are some, Ali Badruddin, you have. Okay.
Yes, it's not a comment, not anything, just a suggestion about all this, how I saw this point of view, how I saw it from, like, let's say outside. First, concerning, let's say, human rights and all this kind of thing, it's important, yes, so important. But just like to work more with local community to execute and respect the laws that already existing. That is so important. This part we are missing it somewhere, because yes, of course, people, human are present and they are using the resources in the, and they have the right to use it, but also they have to use it in the right way. So because there is a lot of law and regulation. So if you don't respect, so you are destroying. So, and as we saw in our Mediterranean, the majority of the major threat is coming from anthropogenic pressure. So we cannot say that anymore that, yeah, they have the right to use the natural resources or anything like, no, it's not like this. It's not like this anymore because we are taking like far away for all of this. And that is the point. And concerning MPA, as MPA manager, integration of local communities and other challenges for us because since we are dealing with many things in our MPA concerning monitoring, training, and capacity building, I'm talking especially in the Eastern Mediterranean and what we are facing, especially in Lebanon. So also integrating local community need also more funds and more work, more team, and more everything. So we should like work more with expert and technical one, trainer one, the ones that have motivation. After this, we can talk also about and think about local community and how they can help us. It is really complicated and it's we are talking like philosophy, but on the field is another thing. So you should like touch it to feel it and to know what we are talking about. Because fisher, when you are going to say to them like, don't kill this turtle, he will say to you in our country, for example, that yes, this turtle is eating my fish, and this fish I am buy it and take it to eat to give food to my son, for example. I'm talking because we are in. Of law and the force to application of law is also
Yeah, maybe Ali, just to have mentioned something about that. I know this is the law. It is really important. I'm sure. I'm totally agree with you, but we just start to discuss with the local community and with the fishers. You know that if you talking with them to have, maybe they are fishing there, but in sustainable way, because they will give you the examples. If there are some old fishes there, they know that they will tell you that this area it was and 1960s, there are many fishes and blah, blah. So we can take these examples and tell them that is for a new generation also in sustainable way. So really there are some keys we can bring with them and they will totally agree with you. Sorry, and you have the, yeah, you can have some.
With a colleague that compliance with existing regulations is important, very important. I think it should be in the definition of effective management that another group is working on. But of course, compliance, to comply with the regulations, they should be well understood and they should have be natural in some way, not forced, but be in the common sense of the users, and then you will have compliance. Yes, well, it's a complex issue. Pierre and myself, we worked on something on enforcement and compliance before, and we found all these conditionings. But I think that I totally agree that there must be compliance for effective management. And another thing I wanted to say is that we also need to have results. The people have to see, we need good news. We not only meetings, meetings are fine, and workshops and meetings, but even the fishermen, they get tired after 20 minutes. I mean, they're not, in their culture is not to speak so much. They say things directly and they're finished. What else? So I think they really, we intellectuals, we get full with our discussions and so on. We can be all the morning here speaking about something, and we always find it interesting, but not usually the fishermen. They want to see effective results, and it's very important to have some good news from time to time. For example, garbage that is being taken out from the sea, or I don't know, improved sizes of the octopus or the whatever. So something that they can see, and this will, I think, this is very important as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really, I'm totally agree with what you have mentioned. I don't thank you very much for that. And now, Andrian, yeah, you have to say something. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to add also that sometimes, I mean, the discussions are far away from the ground. I mean, the language of the ground is what Ali said before. I mean, and so to move it forward is that sometimes also the decisions are not understandable, even when they are for the goodwill. So the key word is empowering the communities. And empowering the communities, I mean, they will understand also what is for them. Doesn't matter if it is for tomorrow or a little bit, I mean, the time needs to be adjusted. And within the empowering of the community, also the good voices can have more power rather than, you know, this anarchist or this one that always are negative. I know that it's complex, but I remember when we started, let's say, the environmental movements in our country, and so we were ignorant also. We were using some words which didn't have meaning, or let's say we were hearing also the Barcelona Convention, the Rio Convention, and there were, how to say, I mean, alien language. I mean, far away. So I mean, empowering the community will make things, I mean, close to the ground, and also the participatory, I mean, process will get strong, and also the good decision, I mean, will have meaning for everybody.
Yeah, Pierre. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to wait. Sorry. No, I think all we are saying here is pretty much connected. I totally agree with what you said, well, all of you, of course, but after all, like when talking about compliance, that again here, we know from you, from managers, that the participatory approaches, including to taking regulations, are much more ensuring compliance to these regulations and top down. And that indeed the fisher is much more, knows much more what should be the mesh size than you. So I think that this is part of it. So it's just to clarify that when mentioning human rights, again, it's, I think, maybe, well, worse, I think, to mention human rights more explicitly as, well, to make it clear what is the aim of an MPA that still is as main goal conservation, but with an approach that it seems everyone here wants to promote, that is like to be, that is about empowering the local communities, because there is nothing that we can do out there, and even more now that like these, again, targets, international targets are so high, without the people, without the communities, and without this collective intelligence that they have from their knowledge. And so I think the reference to human rights, well, I find it okay. Thank you, Pierre. Okay, Ili, okay, you have mic. Ili, if it is not work, you can move here. Maybe it will be easier. Others, no. Yeah, just come here. It will be beside me, so it's very good. Yeah.
Okay, just to sum, I think we are saying the same thing. Maybe some of other we are focusing on one side and the others like focusing on the other side, but technically they are very correlated. So I wanted to say like people have the right to know, so they will have the duty to act on it. So this is it technically. While drafting was us decisions and regulation that will obey, and it's technically efficient in this way. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ili. If I think we are on time now for lunch. So really, I would like to thank all of you for this. Really was a very nice discussion, and we have a lot of experience we shared in this session from Lebanon, from Albania, from Italy. So really, I think we will have a good recommendations in this session about all the examples that we have in the Mediterranean. And really, thank you for all of you who support us by discussion. And thank you, Pierre, thank you, Melissa, and the technician, and all of you. And I hope that we can meet today to see our recommendation when at the closing session. So thank you very much. And I know that you are all of us, we are so tired. So we need to thank also the Ministry of Ecology, Spatial Planning and Urbanism in Montenegro for gala dinner last night. And thank you, MedPAN, for that. It was really very nice. So thank you very much for all of you, and hope to see you later. Thank you.